Morning, guys. It's pretty early on Monday morning right now, so I'm still kind of waking up. But I knew if I just didn't sit down and do this right now, I'm not going to do it at all. Um, this week, my Facebook blew up. Like, just it feels like it just exploded in my face. I'll post a link in the description here, and that way you guys can go and look at this video if you haven't already seen it. And what I did was we have a an aggressive pit bull named Kane in our board and train program right now, and there's a lot that I'll get to, but essentially took a video of this dog in a very unique situation that just looking at it like on the surface without asking me anything, you're not gonna understand. Um, and my intention was I'm gonna post this video and show the mistakes that I made and discuss them with people, and then show my follow up work. It's pretty typical of how it goes on my Facebook page. Like, I'm not afraid to show my faults. I'm not afraid to show my mistakes because it's so unrealistic on almost everyone else's social media. It's like they just want to show what's perfect, but like that's not realistic. And to me, the average dog owner just doesn't give a crap about all that flashy stuff for the most part. They might get to the point where they enjoy that, but right now they want to know, like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Why is what I'm trying not working? And how do I make up for that? So I feel like me showing my mistakes and then how I make up for that, seems to illustrate that point a lot better. Okay, so let me give you a little background on Kane. Okay, so and then I'll kind of build up to this video and talk about it. Okay, so Kane is he's a young Pitbull bully breed, whatever. I don't really know. He's mostly head. He's got a head the size of a pumpkin, and super strong, super strong. Like I have worked with gigantic dogs. I mean, seems like two or three times his size that wasn't that strong. He's powerful, which I like. Honestly, I like that. I like these big strong dogs. Um, he's uniquely aggressive for me anyway. I don't know if this is the case for other trainers, but in general, when I see an aggressive dog, that dog is either human aggressive specifically, and then usually they're fairly social with dogs, more or less, or they are dog aggressive and they're fairly social with humans. And I would put all other animal aggression kind of to the side of those two things. You might have a human aggressive that is or is not aggressive towards small animals, or you may have, you know what I'm saying? Like it could be a mixture of those, but usually between dogs and people, it's one or the other. But with Kane, it's both. I will say I don't get as not like even close to as bad reactions with dogs with him, but I have no doubt that he'd fight a dog just like he'd fight a horse, just like he'd fight a cat, just like he'd fight me. Well, not me, but like a person. I have no doubt about that. Another thing, kind of unique with him, is that he has like very low food drive. So I'll get to what we did before he ever came to the board and train program, but before he came, okay, we'd done several sessions. He had never taken a piece of food from me. He had never taken a piece of food even from his dad in a public setting, in anything that wasn't a place that he knew. So essentially, if it wasn't in his food bowl, he never ate. That's not to say he didn't have food drive. It's just he was so easily overstimulated that like food was the last thing on his mind. He's just sitting there all bug-eyed, like, oh my god, like the world's just so overwhelming. Not even in a bad way. Like, it's not like this dog does not lack confidence. He was not scared. He was just like so like just overstimulated. It was hard to process, I guess. He also has 2 bites on people. My memory's terrible. I can't remember the exact details, but I believe both these were pretty fairly serious bites. Like nobody went to the hospital, but it wasn't just like, I think it broke skin both times. You know, like nobody needed stitches, thank God. Nobody got hospitalized, but it was good bites. You know, he's also very reactive through the window of his home. So like I know where his dad lives, and without going into too much detail, like there's like the house is right on the street pretty much. So there's cars, you know, passing 15 feet from the window, and then there's sidewalk. So like people passing or dogs passing might be just 10 feet away from that window. So he's very reactive right there. And I'm going to nail down the details of this today. Like I said, my memory's terrible. I know he's told me before, but when he was younger, Kane went after a horse, and the way it was described to me this last time was that he was gonna kill the horse. He got kicked in the head by the horse and kept going. Now we were all just talking jibber jabbering, so like maybe that's a little bit of exaggeration. That's what I'm gonna nail down today whenever I talk to his dad. But yeah, it was still, he went after a horse. He got kicked in the head and kept going. Whether he was trying to kill the horse or just real excited and, you know, didn't notice getting kicked in his big old head, I have no idea. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea of Kane the dog, you know, like who he is, right? Like some of his behavior traits and stuff like that. So what me and his dad did, his dad started coming to me at least a year ago, and we did some private sessions. And you know, he was going to school. His dad was, and you know, I tried to. I don't know if I want to put this out there, but like I try to work with people that are working hard. You know what I mean? Like I don't want money to be what holds them back, so I try to be cool like that as best I can with it, as long as it's not shortchanging my family. So like he, you know, I try to give him a little bit of a discount. And like we did 1 or 2 sessions. So it's a discounted price, but still, I mean, it's not chump change. Like I have to eat, you know, my family's got to eat. We got bills to pay. So we did a couple sessions with absolutely zero progress. I would say the only progress we made is that I wasn't getting bit, and he wasn't even interested in me, in that way anymore. But he never took food. And at that time, I don't believe he had ever played with me. Okay. So this is like 2 sessions, right? So it's like maybe a couple weeks apart. Well, then maybe a month passes. All right. We do another one. Same thing. And this time I'm like, okay, I can't in good conscience have this guy keep spending money with me when I'm not even showing him any results. Like I know what I can do with this dog, but you know, it's like, man, I just, like I'm in this situation with this amount of time, I'm just not going to be able to show him anything. So, you know, there's a few times where I was like, okay, let's cut this short. Don't worry about today, blah, blah, blah. Like, let's try this at home and then let's come back. Okay. All in all, I would say we probably did a dozen sessions at least. So this is like 12 sessions. Some were an hour long, like my normal average session. But some were like half an hour long because I'm like, okay, we're just not getting anywhere and I'm not wasting his time. You know, like this is crazy. So now this whole time I'm suggesting the board and train program because I know the amount of time I need with this dog. I know how I need to break these behaviors down and help him like come around to all these things. Okay, but board and training program is expensive, especially if you're a young guy going to college, right? So it took him a while. I'm kind of speeding through this now. So it took him a little while, but he saved up and put him in board and train. So here we are to recent history. Today is the start of the 3rd week, right? So he's been with us for 2 full weeks. This is the 3rd week, okay? So, is that right? Yeah, I think that's right. Anyway, sorry guys, my memory's terrible. Okay. So, a couple things with these privates and stuff. One of the things to keep in mind, his dad took every single suggestion and ran with it. Every single thing I advised, every single thing, like he did great. Okay, one of the things was he had been feeding him twice a day, you know, like just like twice a day. Well, I think at first the food bowl was just down all the time. So I suggested, okay, let's at least get him on a schedule, right? So let's do morning and night. There was no increase in food drive like whatsoever. And then over some time, he transitioned to just once a day. So it's just PM feeding, that's exactly how I feed my dogs. I do once a day. I do some other things earlier in the day. My dogs aren't starving or anything, but I feel like that's totally appropriate. So he changed that. And it still didn't see results at that time. Now, by the time he came for board and train, though, okay, I think this had made a significant difference because he got dropped off on a Monday, okay, and I was there at Classic Cuts where we do our board and train program. I was there earlier in the day. Then he got dropped off, and I had to come back that night, right? So I wasn't there at drop off, so I came back that night. And so Kane had been there for a little while. He was being very aggressive to one of the other trainers, like, pupils dilated and like just like that silent frozen. Like, I don't know how to describe it. You probably find good videos online, but like the scary aggressive ones aren't the ones that bark and lunge and scream and yell and try to bite you. It's the quiet ones. Those are the freaky ones. So that's what Kane was doing at this time. He was, pupils as big as dinner plates, and he's just silent. And it was so freaky, like I could tell, like I didn't even see it, but I could tell from talking to Elizabeth at that time. I was like, oh, that's so scary. So I came there though, right? And I'm like, man, is he going to be like this toward me? Like I haven't seen him in a while. And he immediately took a piece of food from me, right? First time he's ever taken a piece of food from me. First time I know of that he's taken a piece of property outside of his food bowl at home, right? So that, like right there, I was like, oh, we're in. We got a way to change behavior. We got a way to work on this. All right, so that just made me so happy. All right, and that exact same night, right? I was like, okay, well, he's cool with me. Clearly, like he's freezing up. He's looking weird at Patrick and Elizabeth, but like he's happy to see me. So I just, maybe foolishly, but I just got in there. Like nobody else could put him up. At least without getting like crate bottoms and having to kind of push him into a run or something like that. So I got him and, opened up the gate. He was cool with me. Mostly just didn't pay attention to me, but, he was, cool with me. And then I got him put up in his run, shut the door. Great. All right, let's call it a night for right now. All right, we determined at that moment, okay, we're going to hand feed all his meals. So all his meals are going to come through us during training, right? So still, he gets offered the same amount of food he's always had every single day, but we're going to work for it. We're going to train through it, right? And we got to make sure that he gets that same caloric intake or whatever. And so me and him became buddies right away. One odd thing, though, he never would, until like the last couple days, till this weekend, he never would take his food from me. Now, with that being said, me and Patrick and Elizabeth, we coordinate well. They were able to very quickly, like within 24 hours, he's eating from their hand. He's eating all his meals, or not from their hand. They're doing like the food bowl, and like they'll be like sit, and he'll sit, and then they'll hold the bowl there, and he can get a couple bites, and they'll get it back up and ask for something else, whatever. They're just building a relationship with food, So, all right, his food was taken care of with them, but he would play with me, right? So I would use a lot of tug, a lot of play, a lot of interaction. Can I call him off mild distractions? So horses are a big distraction when they're close, but when they're at a distance, like several hundred feet away, it's not really that bad. Like, he notices them, he looks at them for sure, but he's not fixated at all. Like they're just, I don't want to like act like I can read dogs' minds, but it's like, it's got to be clear that, through a chain link fence, like, okay, I'm just not going to be able to get those horses way over there. So they're just less interesting. I could, like, let's say he is just a little bit, just looking at the horses, staring through the fence. I could, clap, call him off, whatever, come over and tug with me. Great. Awesome. Okay. one of the things that happened during this time where I'm kind of, establishing what relationship I can, learning, like, what are some things I can try to encourage him to take food from me? What are some of the ways I can train without even using food? Like, what can I do? What can I, it's kind of testing the limits of what I normally do. So, one day, I had him just on a normal slip lead, right? And this is like, man, I wish I had one handy. This is like your average vet clinic, boarding facility, tiny little slip lead, right? So it's just like very thin, like maybe this thick or wide, maybe that wide. And he does fine on it, in these low distraction environments. Like, like I do the same thing I do with every other dog. And I get it to where essentially they're not even hitting the end. We walk, there was one day, okay, from his kennel area, I walk, like if I took him out, all right, there's a outdoor area on the right that has a dog in it, like a potty area. All right. There's a outdoor area on the left that has a dog in it. Now I could walk past that dog, but then I'd have to go through the whole boarding facility. So like all the dogs. So like Kane is kind of in a separate building. And it would just be a nightmare. Like I knew that's not going to go well. So I did that. All right. So my idea was, okay, I'm going to go straight, which is through this building, right? And this building is several things. It's a fake living room area where I usually practice like household skills with dogs so that it kind of simulates the environment at home. But it also houses a few cats, right? A few cats live there. And there's several things I've done in the past. We've got like these nice like crate type things for the cats and cat trees. Excuse me. They've got all kinds of areas they can get out of the way. And, they're definitely safe, right? So, but I take him in on this little bitty slip lead, and he immediately hits the end, hangs himself. I mean, I'm like worried he's going to black out or like crush his windpipe or something. Like, and he's so strong. Like, I'm like in this 5 seconds, I'm having a way, okay, I have to hold him back because I can't have him kill the cats. I need to release that pressure on his throat before he hurts himself. And how the heck do I get out of this situation? And then even once I get out, well, how am I going to address this? Like, what if this situation comes up again? How am I going to be able to get through this area safely? Okay. So this is where I get into some crap. Okay. So if you have followed me for very long at all, you've probably noticed that I'm pretty gentle in the way I train, right? I don't, up to this point, I have not used a lot of tools. I'm not even going to get into specifics. The dog training community is so freaking toxic right now over this subject. That part, put that to the side. I don't care about that crap. I'm talking to the average dog owner here. I want the average dog owner to understand where I was coming from. So, I don't use a lot of tools. So for instance, I have never been the one to suggest using a prong collar with a dog before. If I've got my way, if they're like a reactive dog, just a flat collar and leash. So just like the normal cloth collars, great. If they're not even reactive, give me a harness. Like that's what I would prefer. That's not usually how it turns out. It's just so much more convenient to just use a flat collar or even a slip lead. But I don't. Most of the time, I don't even use slip leads in the normal way. Anyway, that doesn't matter. That's besides the point. Okay, so at this point, I contacted Kane's dad, and I said, hey, if I'm going to continue to work with Kane, I don't feel that I can guarantee other people's and other animals' safety if I don't have a way to safely restrain him, right? Like if I don't feel if I don't feel confidently that if I don't feel confidently that I can keep like at his worst, that I can hold him back, even if it's not a training moment, even if he's just going berserk, can I physically restrain him? I think the answer is almost certainly no. And just a slip lead, just a flat collar, just a harness, things like that. And then there comes the thing of like, okay, if he's freaking out at the end of this leash, I've got to be able to somehow redirect him into something else. But this is predatory behavior. This is not like Lucky, your neighbor's golden doodle, who's real excited about whatever, like your friend coming over or whatever. This is a predator, very fixated on prey, right? So I mean, that's all I got to say about that. So I chose at that moment to suggest a prong collar. And, if I never use one again, that'll be just fine with me. I'm not crazy about them. It's like, to me, I'm to also be clear, I'm not like for banning tools or anything like that, because that's definitely being discussed in the dog training community. And if somebody else wants to train with one, great. I've seen some great results with these. But for me, it is like me needing a scalpel and somebody giving me a hammer, right? It's like the wrong tool for the job I'm trying to accomplish. What it accomplished in this moment was it gave me leverage to be able to hold him back until I could break that fixation and then get some training, some real learning to happen, right? So that's it. That's the only reason I ever put one on. I hope I never have to do it again. I hope I never have to hear crap over that stupid video. I wish it would stop getting views. I've considered taking it down. I don't know. It's just dumb. Like, to me, it seems dumb. Okay. So now let's talk about this cat video, okay? So I'm gonna post the link in the description. So in this video, it starts as I put Kane on a grooming table and I'm raising the table, right? And he is kind of at the edge of the table. So if you think like across your screen, if the whole bottom of this screen, let's see, like that, the whole bottom of that screen is the table. Okay, Kane is at, well, at least from my direction, he's at this end, and the cats, okay, so this is Kane, right? The cats are on a cat tree several feet away, so like up here, right? Okay, so they're like still above him, several feet away. The building we're in, I couldn't get much more distance, maybe 3 feet, like maybe 3 feet, maybe 3 more feet, and that's not gonna make a difference, So to the average dog owner, okay, that is exactly what I would do, is get distance if this happens with your dog. If your dog starts reacting toward cats or whatever, distance is your friend. I tell everybody, okay, find the distance at which they can still see whatever it is, but they're not losing their mind. So if a dog is reactive toward other dogs, they're barking, screaming, lunging at 25 feet, back up to 50. All right, can they keep a level head? No? Okay, 75. Like, I don't just bail and get out of there, because then you don't address the problem, but I find a distance at which they can keep a level head, and then learning can happen. And then maybe we can close distance, but maybe not even that. Maybe we not even worry about that session. This was just the worst possible situation you could possibly imagine. I had no exit route except to just bypass, just pull him out of there, right? Him losing his mind and just pull him out of there. Well, then guess what's on the other side of that door? The farm, horses. It's like if I pull him past one thing and he's freaking out and screaming, and then I get out front and the horses are there, at some point I've got to address this behavior, right? So I can't get distance, right? I can't just ignore it, like just get him out there. I can't just bail, okay? And he's not taking food, of course, and definitely not going to play with me in that moment. So all my positive reinforcement strategies are out the window. All my good management strategies are out the window, right? So what's left? I've got to be able to redirect him somehow and break that fixation. So this table I was using, right? So I'm raising it up as the video begins. And the thing about this table is it's a little wobbly. So anytime he moves at all, it wobbles just a little bit. And what that did in my mind was every time he tried to move toward those cats, anytime he might have pulled or tried to jump or whatever, it would wobble. And then it would like self-correct. So if he stays still and just deals with the fact of the cats or pays attention to me, he's fine. Nothing happens. But as soon as he starts to move too fast, it wobbles. And then he has to concentrate on that. Oh, am I going to fall? And so to me, this was the perfect situation. It helps to self-correct this behavior. Like, I don't have to correct him at all now. With that being said, I was trying to correct him. So keep in mind, you can't really see me as well in the video. I'm let me see how to describe this. Okay, so this is the table, right? And then this is me. The camera is behind. So you're really looking at like the back of my head or over my shoulder or past me, right? So what I'm doing is I've got one leg on that table to make sure it doesn't wobble so much that it falls over. I've got one hand, I can't remember which, one hand on the leash, of course, right, which is attached to the prong collar. During this, getting him up on this table, raising this table up, holding that leash, that prong collar's fitted poorly anyway. It was the wrong size and all that. It had slid down his neck, right? So if you talk to any dog trainer that does use these tools, it should be high and tight, which is true. That is a good strategy. Okay, it should be right behind the ears. It should be well fitted. It should be well fitted enough that it doesn't slide down. Right. That was not the case at this particular moment. So, but keep in mind, from my perspective, I'm just trying to make sure he doesn't kill these cats, and I'm just trying to get through this moment, get a little attention, so I can go, okay, great, let's get out of here. So I didn't even notice really. So, and then in this, all right, I got my leg up here, I'm holding the leash back, I got all these things going on. I'm making sure he doesn't jump off. I'm trying to deliver small corrections now to the owners, especially the ones I'm working with right now or have in the past. Like, think to yourself, how many times have I ever talked about correcting your dog? I bet there's less than half a dozen of you out there that have ever heard those words leave my mouth. It's just not how I train. I don't use leash corrections. I don't. God, if a trainer ever listens to this, bro, I don't care if you do. No, but I'm not making a statement on it. It's just not how I train, right? So this is something I'm a little unfamiliar with. So I'm trying to deliver these corrections. They're totally ineffective. So the prong collar is in a totally wrong location. The corrections are totally ineffective. And at some point, like he'll briefly turn away from the cats, kind of look at me like, what is going on back here? And at those moments, I'll try to reward him, right? So I'm juggling a lot of things. It's like juggling like 9 bowling balls. So I'm doing all these things. Well, okay, so this is part of a much longer video. Maybe I should just post it if I've still got it. But like, we worked through some stuff. At one point I snapped. Nobody mentioned this. At one point I snapped, and that was the most powerful snap in the universe, because it totally, like, more than all those corrections, more than the table wobble, more than anything else, he was like, oh yeah, you're here. And then he dials in, and I get him to sit and lay down and stuff like that. And then I was like, let's get out of here, dude. Let's bail. So, and we did. We played tug outside and like made it a very rewarding experience. And then, we went on with our lives and then got into other stuff the next day. Okay. So, I record almost every interaction I have with dogs, especially our board and trained dogs. I usually just find the best possible spot in the room that's out of the way, the camera's not going to get knocked over or anything like that, hit record, and then I just train. And I just don't think about it too much. And what, it's just, man, I just wish I could, I don't know what I wish, but when I reviewed this video, I was just as like disappointed as anybody or whatever word you want to use. But I was like, man, that's crappy training. That is not good. That does not look good. Does not have a good look. So, but right, like I said at first, this is my thing. Like, I show my mistakes, and then I come back and I show how I did better. How I did the right thing. Because think about it, like most people out there, if they've never talked to a trainer before, if they go to Walmart and they get some cheap prong collar, don't do that by the way, but if they go and get that and they slap it on a dog, it probably looks exactly like what I was just doing. Exactly. I'm sure it looks just like that. I've seen it 100 times. I come to somebody's house and they're like, yeah, I bought this thing and it's sitting way down here and they're doing this, but it's not accomplishing anything. Like, they're correcting the dog, but it's not accomplishing anything. And like, okay, so I wanted to share that with dog owners and be like, hey, and in the caption I said something to the extent of, there's a lot going on in this video. Please ask questions, because I just knew I can't write 9 paragraphs and expect people to read them, and I'm not going to be able to cover all my mistakes in this video. So I'm just going to leave it up to people to ask me. God, that was such a mistake, because it just started gaining traction. As of right now, it's got a little bit over 6,000 views, which is just disgusting that it took something controversial to actually get any traction on Facebook. You know, it's everybody. Well, not everybody. A lot of people took up for me, including the owner, right? Because I was with the owner when my Facebook was blowing up. I was teaching him, right? So, but all these comments start rolling in. Oh my God, you're an animal abuser. The craziest one of them all was that dog would be better off being put down than going through that. Meaning like the corrections or the prong collar or whatever. That's the most absurd, ludicrous, insane thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Like, that's still like, okay, so this is coming from the guy that doesn't use leash corrections in training, right? Keep that in mind. Like, I'm the guy that doesn't do that, and I'm saying, hey, this is probably appropriate at this moment with this dog. And people are saying, oh, you're an animal abuser. I just think that's ludicrous. It's just dumb. But, all right, so all these things keep rolling in. And this is mostly from, like, just dog lovers, right? Probably mean well, to be fair. But they're, you know, they're going off or whatever. And then there's, like, a lot of people that follow me that kind of took up for me or whatever. And then there's, like, trainers that want to comment on what a poor job I'm doing. So they, you know, Kevin said, okay, everything's wrong with this video. I wouldn't have had the cat up there. Wouldn't have had this. I would have put the prong here, and I would have done this. And some or even crazy were like, oh, you don't even need to reward because he's messing up in the overall picture. You need to correct harder. That's like, oh man, it was just like a full spectrum of people inserting their opinions. And I think exactly 2 people total ever asked me a question about what was going on in the video. I don't know why I was surprised by that, but I was very disappointed. Because I think if they just asked me rather than coming at me with like, hey, that prong collar's in the wrong location, you're doing this all wrong. Instead of doing that, if they'd been like, hey, why is that prong collar sitting so low? And what is he doing on a table like that? And why are you rewarding at this moment? And things like that. I think if they just asked me those questions, I could have gave sufficient answer. Even if they still disagree with me, it wouldn't have been, it didn't have to be like well, I would have done everything different. Well, of course you would have. So would I. You know, like if I could have done anything else, I would have done everything different. Okay. So, all right. So my Facebook blows up. All right. That was the main point of this video right here, was to let you know all the background, all the details, the stuff that I can't insert into tops a 90-second video. It's just stupid. You know, like it's stupid to think that somebody knows how I train based on 90 seconds of crappy training. You know, stick around. I can do much better and have done much better. So from here in real life, me actually hands on this dog. All right, I'm with his dad when all this is going on. We're showing him how to put the prong collar on, how to walk him with the prong collar, how to redirect him around horses, around cats, around people, around this and that and the other, how to play with him, how to do this, how to do that, why he won't take food at this moment, what to look for when he might take food, blah, 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 blah. Like breaking down everything possible, as much as we could think of in like an hour or so. And then, you know, that day ends. All right, so another week passes, us working through things, and I got a prong collar that fit correctly, so it's like much smaller prongs. This one, the first one was like a big wide one like this. It was like too much, so that just the little thin one, right? And I got it correctly fitted so that it stayed right behind his ears. And then I tested him around some of the girls that work at the shop there. He was essentially neutral to him. I could easily redirect him. There was zero fixation. I could easily redirect him, and he would even engage and play with me at that time. So I decided to take him to Tractor Supply, and that went well as well. You know, we had one person, so like we had several people from a distance, and I would say he paid attention to some of those people, but there was even one lady that worked there that came up and like talked to us from, 6 feet away or so, totally neutral, totally neutral, and this was not like, it's not like I yanked the crap out of the leash to correct him or anything like that. It's just like, hey man, we were just hanging out in the store, and he's just like, well, this is cool looking, like he's just glad to be there. And we was there for maybe 3 minutes. We walked around, got out, right? Just one good experience. Great. Awesome. All right. We go back every day more than anything else. Been working on these cats, right? I'm going to have one good experience around these cats, and then we'll get out of there. We'll go do something fun. And we've been able to do that successfully. Now he's even taking food from me, right? He's working through his meals for me as well. So now I make sure to load up on some of his food, and like if we can be in that room with that cat and him sit and pay attention to me for a second instead of looking at that cat, I'll give him the biggest handful of food he ever got in his life. And like I just make it fun, I am like, I think it's really important to like convey the way you feel to the dog in front of you. Right, so like, let's say you're the average dog owner. Fluffy is the name of your dog, we're gonna say, and they lose their crap whenever buzzards are flying or something. I don't know, birds, like they just lose it. And there comes a day whenever they sit by your side or sit in front of you, and they're looking at that bird, and they're like, and they relax, and they look at you, and like, man, that's good. Like, that's the best, dude. So, like, this video I posted, like, yesterday, I think. Man, like, they, like, we're in the room with this cat. The cat is, like, pretty much, like, right here. It's, like, right underneath the camera, right? And it's just staring. It's, like, God, cats kill me. I mean, I love cats. I do. But, like, it knows what it's doing, I feel like. Maybe I'm just anthropomorphizing. But, like, I just feel like it's, like, that dude ain't gonna let you eat me, so like there's several moments where he looks at the cat and he's like, he's like making this weird sound, and then and he looks at me, and I'm like, oh, I'm so proud. Like the fact that he can do that at all is like, it's powerful, man. That's powerful. Like he, in some way, okay, I'm not saying he's cured. I'm not saying anything like that. But for a small window in time, he was able to overcome everything his genetics are screaming, everything that his brain is screaming, everything his experience is screaming, and say, you know what? I'm going to engage with you instead. That's huge. Like, that is huge to me. So, okay, I'll get off that. I get really excited about that part, but I think it's really important. So, like, it's not as simple as giving him a handful of food. It's not as simple as pulling a tug rope and playing. I want to convey that emotion. Like, dude, I really am proud of you. I really am, like, for real. Like, this is a essential part of my relationship with you, is my pride in your progress, right? Okay, so then, from there, every day at some point we end up walking past horses. These horses live around like Malinois and stuff, so like they're just like curious. They know nobody's gonna let dogs bite them, so they just come over and they're just like, hey, what's going on? I'm not super familiar with horses myself, but they just seem curious to me. But they come over and check us out, and yeah, Kane will he'll lose that concentration a little bit. But like the other day, for instance, I think it was like Saturday, I walked him out, and I kind of have to walk around like this curve. It goes around a fence, and then there's like a driveway, and there's fence on both sides, horses on both sides, right? So there's two horses standing at the corner, and we kind of have to round this and go past them, right? So we round that corner, and I see him looking at him, and he had a little bit more of the leash than I really wanted. I don't know, for whatever reason, I made a mistake. He had a little bit more leash, and he's kind of, like, his normal is like he crouches down and like starts stalking him, right? Well, this time he, like, maybe for half a second, he got lower, and then he veered off, and he went to go pee on like a tree or whatever and walk on that side. Like, so I didn't correct him. I didn't redirect him. I didn't have food. I didn't, I didn't do anything myself. I didn't say anything. In no way that I'm aware of did I communicate with him that I do not want you to do that. He chose to. He said, okay, you know what? I'm just going to avoid that whole situation. I'm going to go over here because that's too tempting over there. I was so proud of that. Like, that's so huge. Like, that was a big deal. So, All right, same thing. All right, and then now, like what I've noticed with the cats is, it's still the cats is the worst, but we also have the least amount of distance from them. So we're working on it. But what is happening now is that he'll see a cat, and before anything happens on my end, he'll look back at me. Right. So now, because so consistently I've redirected him and rewarded him for being able to be redirected or for paying attention to me, now the cat becomes the cue to look at me. So instead of being like, look at me, instead of that, like, it's like, okay, I see a cat. Oh yeah, Colby likes me to look at him right now. Yeah, and I reward him right there. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, okay, so this is another thing I thought was strange. Some of the other trainers that chimed in, wanted to let me know that I should already have a solid foundation of obedience, and then make him perform these obedience commands in the presence of these distractions, and hold him accountable for that. For sure, that is a one way to go at it. My thing with aggression, reactivity, fear, any of those kinds of things, they usually what I find is that if I treat the way they feel first before I treat the actual behaviors they're displaying, the behavior changes on its own, right? So just like all these situations I just described. So for me, if I teach obedience first, right, and then I add in distractions, I'm only masking the way that they actually feel. So like in my experience, that would give you like the look as if you have control, or that they can control themselves, but really they're just like boiling underneath all that, and they're just, and you just don't know. They're like a ticking time bomb, right? So it's like any second they're gonna just lose it. So just is what it is. I disagree with a lot of other trainers there. Now we are working on obedience. So like we have begun to treat the way he feels about things. He's not as excited about horses. He's not as excited about cats. And I would say he's 99% neutral to people. And I only say 99% because nothing's 100%. So, so yeah, I think that I think now is the time to add in obedience. So like I would love to see like at least a decent flip the heel, and and a maybe not competition level, but like can you focus on me while we walk together, and even among distractions, So I don't think that's fair to ask of a dog before you address the emotions underlying the problem. Emotions first, always. If you can't help them feel better about something, I don't know. You gotta come at it from a different angle and do it anyway. You gotta help them. I won't get into it. Like I won't discuss names or whatever, but I'll just keep it short. That there's one or two other trainers that I've been discussing this case with, and they in particular reached out to me very concerned because their feelings are that he is never going to be a safe dog, that behavioral euthanasia may be the way to go, that to continue with training is stupid, or I mean they're not using those words at all. They're very polite, but that's what I'm getting from this, right? Okay, so as a professional, I always try to separate my emotion as best I'm able, as best as any human is able to, from the actual situation. So yes, I care very much about Kane at this point. I'm very invested in his success and his dad's success. Like I really want to see them, do well and thrive. Okay, so they, behavioral euthanasia is a very unfortunate, but sometimes necessary thing. When a dog, maybe it is a something mentally, or maybe even like a hormonal imbalance, something like that, something that is like physical but difficult to impossible to treat. or like some type of a certain kind of genetic type of thing, then it's just the safest for everybody, including that dog. You know, it's better than them getting shot because they attacked your neighbor's dog Fluffy, you know, or something like that. Sometimes it's the kindest option of all. I disagree with this particular trainer in that I do not believe that behavioral euthanasia is the way to go with him. And I intend to show why that is. The thing about this is, you know, like, what if I'm wrong? Like, I think the stakes are so high, you know, and like I would be a fool not to consider it. So all that me and this trainer have discussed, I'm going to go over with his dad, and I'm going to try not to put my emotions into it. I'm going to try my best not to sway his decision making. I'm going to try to let him know what a serious dog he has and will always have. Right? But my feelings are that he is not necessarily destined for the euthanasia table. I have other thoughts on this, you know, like I won't go into it too much, but I love aggressive dogs. I love working with aggressive dogs. I think aggression is one of the most essential parts of being a dog. You know, like historically speaking, like we get so comfortable thinking about dogs as our little buddies that sleep on the couch. But like, why can't they also be these amazing, incredible, intense predators, you know, that we channel all these genetics into these things? And for me, it's so exciting. So like Cooper, okay, he's super high drive. Like, we call him like a redneck Malinois, right? He's a little blue heeler. That's my dog, okay? He's so intense. Like, I don't have livestock. I don't have anything for him to herd. But being able to channel all that drive and all that energy and all those little things that add up in his genetics that make him so wonderful in this intense way, being able to channel that into this new and unnatural thing that I call trick training. You know, like, I just think it's so cool. Like, and it's like our relationship is built on this learning process. Like if I put him in with cattle and I'd raised him around cattle and I knew even a little bit about herding, I think he would be a superstar. I mean, he'd be like the best cattle herding dog ever. With that being said, I don't, and I haven't, and I don't plan to. So like, instead, I've taught him all these stupid little tricks and like all these little behaviors and all these little ways of interacting with me, all to get a frisbee or all to get a tennis ball or whatever. And I think that's amazing. I think the same can be done with aggression and should be done with aggression. Like, we do not want no aggressive dogs. Like, we have police canines out there. We have, like military working dogs. Like, we need dogs that bite. We need aggressive dogs. We need livestock guardian dogs that will actually kill coyotes. You know, we need like all these things. So like, it gets weird when we have aggressive dogs in our world, right? But we have to remember that our world is only a small part of the world. And I think even aggressive dogs, assuming they are not obvious candidates for behavioral euthanasia, I think we have to give them a fair shot and an outlet for all that aggression, all that rage, whatever it is that they're feeling. I think it's only fair to give them an outlet. So I've got some ideas for Kane I'm going to discuss with his dad. I think that we've got some ideas on some good outlets to give him that will also help us put a layer of control on all that aggression. Yeah, I plan on following up with Kane, following his story, helping to ensure that he is, in fact, despite being aggressive, is a safe, hopefully safe dog. And if I ever feel like that's not the case, I will say that. I'll do my best to admit that to myself and to his dad and say that, you know. But I don't think that's today. I'm very hopeful today. Very happy with this progress. I'm super excited to get out and work with him today. So I'm probably going to shut up now and go start doing that. Thank you guys so much for watching this super long video. I really appreciate all the input I get, all the comments, all the likes, all the subscribers and shares and blah, 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 blah. Please, if you don't mind, share this video with your friends, anybody that's a dog lover, anybody that's a dog owner, right? I just got a bad taste in my mouth right now about trainers. Like, I've got good trainer friends, right? I'm not talking about them, just like trainers on the internet. You know, like, okay, I'm not really talking to you. I will absolutely engage in discussion, but let's at least be nice to each other. Okay, well, I'll shut up now. Thank you guys so much. Please make sure to share this, like this, whatever, everything you can, and let me know what you think. Thank you so much. Bye.